Well, I'm going to cancel next month.
This week's episode of Weekly Tech Update is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/WTU. There are now well over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Windows Phone, or your Kindle. Well, good day and welcome to episode number 341 of Weekly Tech Update for January 18th, 2016. In this episode, we are discussing GoPro and Twitter are down, what do you say about 4K Blu-ray, and we recap CES 2016. Stay tuned for those stories and more here on your Weekly Tech Update. Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm distracted and recovering from CES. Apparently, I'm not as recovered as I thought I was. Broadcasting from BCC HQ South, I'm Benjamin Hyde.
And broadcasting down the road, probably about the same amount of recovery as you, I'm Jason Schneider.
Yeah, it's been CES wasn't bad.
No, actually, I guess we've done it enough. That was actually our 10th year.
That was our 10th, was it?
We never realized it was our 10th. We told everyone it was our 9th.
Wow.
So we lied to everybody.
We did. We lied to everybody. Apparently.
Yeah, so that was the 10th time we went to the show. And actually, I think maybe we got a little muscle memory because
no,
it seemed to be better. But yeah, it's hard to get back into the real world after that.
Well, I got sick on Friday. I got a cold.
You okay?
Yes.
Okay.
But that kind of, I was doing great until then. I was like, this is like the best CES ever. Not tired. I feel great. We had didn't have as many quite as late nights, so it was feeling great. And then I get sick.
Think that might be the key to Las Vegas, actually.
No, I think it totally is.
Yeah.
Not staying up till 4 a.m. and then getting up at 7 and doing it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk it would take us 10 years to figure that out? But we did.
Exactly. It kicked my butt at the end. I was doing great right up until the end, then it kicked my butt. But either way. So what was your big impression? We got to recap CES.
So we probably should be practiced because every time you meet anyone in Vegas during that week, it's like, so what's the favorite thing you've seen? And you would think you'd have a good answer by the end of the week, but you usually don't.
Yeah,
Usually you're kind of like, it's just the thing with it is it's so overwhelming. There's so much going on. Everybody's releasing something. It's really hard to pick one thing that really blows you away because you see so much stuff that nothing really blows you away because it's just a constant barrage of technology. I think we had kind of discussed this, and maybe you've changed your mind since then. But I kind of felt that the big guys this year really stepped up. In particular, LG was probably one of the more impressive stops we made. They're the big guy. Everybody knows LG is going to be coming out with new products, but I think they really took things to a new level. They really took a big step. Normally, the big companies are always making just baby steps. One model's just a little bit better than the next. The last model. It's a little bigger screen size. A little thinner. But LG really has kind of everything they were doing this year is really a big step, which kind of surprised me because, like I said, normally the big companies don't make big steps. They're happy with the little steps, and they want to sell you 3 models rather than just one gigantic step. And I guess their TVs, they're so thin now that they have to put them on a piece of glass because otherwise they'll just break.
Exactly.
Their signature series, which is probably the one that everybody sees the pictures of right now.
Yeah.
It's the size of 4 credit cards stacked on top of each other.
Well, thick. It's actually bigger than it's like a 55-inch TV.
Yeah. That would be a pretty small TV, but you could put it in your pocket, which would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. That would be a very nice 4K screen.
Yeah, maybe we should talk to them about that. But it's just incredible how thin it is, and really they said they had to make it that thick, 4 credit cards thick, because otherwise the screen panel will just shatter because it's so thin. So they put it on a piece of glass. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy that we're at this point.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And also they have rollable LCDs. Basically, they're so thin that they can roll them up in a tube.
Yeah, these OLEDs, yeah.
Obviously, that's not very practical because you can snap your TV in half, which would probably make some people very angry.
Yeah, that'll be coming down the road though. That's still the
We're
future.
not far
of it.
away.
No, not very far at all.
No. And then, but everything they've done. I mean, they have so many. Well, of course, they got their 8K TVs, and everybody. Well, maybe I shouldn't say everybody, but most of these companies had an 8K display on.
Even Chang Hong had an 8K display.
Well, they are leaders in their market, but yeah, everybody had the 8K, but all the 8Ks were. Some of them were very large. Some of them were backed into a corner so you couldn't see how thick. Some of them, you couldn't see the back of them so that you didn't see the big fans, trying to keep them cool. LG has an 8K that they're ready to ship.
Exactly. Yep.
Like if you have a credit card with no limit, you could probably order one right now and it would probably be to your door in the next couple months.
Well,
Like
I think so, yeah.
this was a production model. Like this
that's
came
right,
from the
they're right.
factory ready to go to a customer. That's crazy.
It is, so I agree. LG seemed to really step up. One thing that other people, this is interesting. Like, I agree with you. Big guys stepped up. One thing I come home is like people were asking me, so, what was cool at CES? And so I'd, say a couple of things that I thought was cool. And like, well, did you see like all the drones? I'm like, yeah, there's lots of toys there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I still, in my, I guess for some people, and for some drones, there is a use to have a good drone with a gimbal for recording video, right?
Oh yeah.
That's maybe 1% of what drones are actually being marketed as.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else is a toy. And
Everything else is spy on your neighbor.
yeah, spy on your neighbor, spy on your neighbors, whatever. It's gross, right? And I'm not sold on drones at all. So yes, there was lots of toys there, but to me, a drone, 99% of it is a toy. So whatever. One thing that is awesome though, you'll recognize this. This is one of my favorite things. Hopefully,
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Oh yes, it's our fantastic Bluetooth speakers we were given. That has quite an accent, which is hilarious. It's a great party trick.
exactly. That was one of my highlights.
Yeah.
No, but as far as for me, one thing that was really interesting was when we actually got a chance to talk with Ford, like not really consumer electronics, but definitely a consumer product.
Yeah.
Is their self-driving cars. They figure they're 4 years out, and to actually talk with an engineer who's sitting there writing the algorithms, who's doing the detection.
No, not just an engineer that sits in the office
Right,
and
exactly.
This guy, how many years has he been sitting in autonomous cars?
10 years. That's all.
Yeah.
10 years in the back seat while they're driving. First test.
Yeah.
Back seat. I'm okay. That guy's got a little bit
Nerves
of faith.
of steel.
Nerves of steel and faith in what he's doing, right? Which
But
is
if you have a
fantastic.
question about autonomous cars, we met the guy to ask about it.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Just
We
the
tried to
fact-
stump him.
Yeah, there's no stumping him.
No.
He just kind of chuckles, laughs it off. Yeah, well, no, we're done. We
He
already
kept going,
we,
rookies.
we already solved that problem.
Yeah.
So no, it was cool just to see what is actually coming rather than the pitch you see and the commercial, the little demo you see on YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, to talk to the guy and he can explain what is going on, why, where they're at, what the roadmap is, the fact that and you've made a valid point in the past, like to make it really work, you might need sensors in the road at some point, but he's like, no, that's kind of ridiculous. The infrastructure would not work. These have to be
No.
self-contained. So yeah, they're ready to go.
It was very interesting because a couple things that I don't know if we've discussed on Weekly Tech Update. We probably have, but first off is road conditions.
Right.
We live in Canada. It snows in Canada.
Yep.
It snows in other parts of the world as well. How are these things going to work in those kind of conditions? We see a lot of the tests being conducted, in the Nevada deserts, in the California, deserts, the Utah sand flats, like or salt flats. It's all in these really ideal conditions, and
Right.
and that's where most are testing them. Ford, Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, and apparently
Why
it
not?
snows
Let's
in
go for Detroit. Like, let's just, it snows there. It's crappy there. Like, let's just test them there. And that actually kind of was very interesting to me because I'm not sure where everyone else is testing them, but most of the tests you see are out in the middle of nowhere in a desert where, what can happen.
Route 66.
Yep.
bare road, nobody else on
Yep.
it. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's very interesting to see that Ford's doing it that way. The other interesting thing with Ford was that kind of lost my second point here, but
Yeah. Either way, like so testing in Detroit. I mean, these guys. I mean, they're in Canada here. Detroit, Michigan has got very similar weather to most of Canada. Canada will be a little bit colder. The lakes down there keep it moderate as far as the temperature goes a little bit, but it's still wicked cold.
oh, they still
And-
get big snowstorms
Oh,
and
and
everything.
huge snowstorms, absolutely. I mean, they probably got more snow in Detroit than we do here,
Yeah.
honestly. So, I mean, and so these level 4 cars are the cars that are going to be driving basically on clear roads. You know, it's minor weather, completely autonomous. You just hop in the back, tell it where to go. Level 3 is the cars you're seeing on YouTube where they're like Super Cruise, there's auto assist, there's power braking, that type of thing. That's a level 3. You still need to be manning the controls. But level 5 is also what Ford's working on too in Detroit because they have the perfect conditions for it. Level 5 is hop in and go off-roading or snow, ice, rain, sleet, hail, whatever. I mean, tornadoes in Kansas, I believe it has tornado detection, so you'll be good to go.
So, okay, I remember my second point. I'm more awake than you were thinking. But so we were talking with the engineer. We were like, so, how much do you trust these things? Like, could you sit in the back seat and fall asleep? And it was very interesting to see an engineer that's really one of the testers, one of the guys in the field that's actually working on this machine every day. He said, I don't think I'll ever come to the point where I just sit in a car and give complete control. He said, because I like driving.
Yeah.
He said, I like having my hands on the steering wheel. Like that's part of the enjoyment of driving for me, which was kind of interesting to see that somebody with that mindset is the one working on it, which kind of, it's interesting to hear. But he said, the other thing is, he said, in the city, like, he said, are you ever really going to give up control? There's so many variables. There's so much going on. Like, the computer can do everything for you, and it's not going to make mistakes, but it's everyone else around you, that you're watching over that driver who's, cuts you off accidentally and, stuff like that. He said for him, that's really going to be tough in the city for him to ever give up control. But he said, but you get on the highway, he said, I like driving, but he said, you know what, if you see something nice, you see some nice scenery, you see a nice sunset, he said, sure would be nice to take your hands off the wheel for, 30 seconds, for a minute, take a picture, do something. And I think that was kind of the mindset of somebody who actually works on this every day, is that all this is great, but I don't think in 4 years we're going to be sleeping in the back seat while our car drives us to Toronto.
No, I think in a lot of ways it probably could. But
I think it could too.
But do we want to do that? And I agree with him. I enjoy driving. There's definitely times when it would be nice just to be able to hit the button and do other things, so you're not, so you can actually do something. I mean, look up a song without sitting, like on your phone, without having to sit there and be really concerned that you're either going to get a ticket or you're going to be dangerous. The fact that you could, right?
Yeah, or in
look
your
up playlist.
case, be drinking a cup of coffee, playing on your Game Boy, texting, and using your tablet.
Well, and eating
all
a
at the same
sandwich.
time while driving with your knees. I mean, at least the car is going to drive itself.
Well, exactly. I mean, a guy can only do so much.
Exactly. So yeah, no, that was very cool. That was actually one of the most interesting meetings, just because a lot of times when you go to these meetings, it's kind of a PR person that's like, yeah, this is great, autonomous driving, woohoo, this is going to be so awesome, watch the video. But this guy was like, this guy lived and breathed it. Like this, you couldn't stump this guy.
Well, at the end of the interview, we thank him, of course, for his time, and he says, you're welcome. I enjoy talking about this. And it was very obvious that he enjoyed talking about this.
Yeah.
He's that guy. I mean, he's an enthusiast. He could have talked to you till you were like falling asleep talking to you about it. Because
this was day 4, and he was still like,
he was
this
on
is
his
awesome.
game.
You go,
Oh,
check
yeah.
this out. Want to get a picture of this? This is cool. Oh, you want a picture of this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, check out the new sensors we're working on. It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, he was like this is just the level of passion he has for his product. He's like, hey, you want to check out something really cool? We're like, yeah, like, of course we do. And he's like, check this out. And he like opens the back door and like lifts out his box. He's like, these are some of the new sensors we're working on. Honestly, to me, didn't look much different than the sensors they had on top of the car.
They were shorter.
He's like, these are pretty awesome. Like, yeah, it's probably maybe an inch shorter than the other one, but he's like, it's pretty awesome. This is something we're working on.
No,
like,
it's actually, I was looking at those and got a press release on those LiDARs. They don't turn on the outside. That's the whole sensor. You know, instead of how that tall frame with that part that's spun on top of the pedestal,
yeah,
that's it. That sucker bolts down. It doesn't spin outwardly. It spins internally.
Well, yeah, but it's cool, but it's not like, whoa, you showed us something that's so awesome. It was like, yeah,
it's about half size, and he's like,
it's a sensor.
Exactly.
So like, it was just like it was like this is the coolest thing ever. You gotta check this
totally
out.
Totally nerding out. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Other than that, another cool one. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with this, but this was one we actually kind of stumbled upon on our last day. We were just kind of. The nice thing with CS is, well, the nice thing is we do get a chance to just kind of walk around most years.
Yeah.
Usually you're kind of tired by the fourth day. You're kind of tired of looking at technology. But, most of the meetings are done. You can kind of roam around and look at things that you want to look at. One interesting one that we saw was Remix OS.
Mm-hmm.
So Remix OS is a Android, I guess they make their own operating. Well, it's basically an Android skin. So they've come up with a desktop version of Android. Yeah. So you've got your start menu, you've got your desktop, you've got your icons, and it's all for Android.
And it comes with the Microsoft Office suite for Android.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool. Like that's what we kind of stopped. It was like, oh, hey, somebody is that Windows or is that Android? And it's basically Android, but it looks like Windows. It has all the functionality. You can right click. You can do all of your basic desktop functions. It's not as powerful as Windows, of course, because it's running on a mobile operating system. But the interesting thing is Remix OS they did a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. I can't remember which one they used, but they've come up with a I think it was $70
$70.
PC.
Yep.
So it's this basically the size of a hockey puck. Well, maybe a little bit bigger, but very very small. Not high specs, but they've come up with it's basically got two USB ports and HDMI. You can plug it into a screen, a TV, or whatever, and you have a fully functioning operating system.
Yeah,
which is very cool. They did very well. They sold a ton of them. But now the interesting thing is they're actually letting you put the operating system onto PCs. Whether it's you want to put it right on your hard drive, whether you want to boot off a flash drive, but we looked at it and it was very impressive. It ran very well. But the interesting thing is there's a ton of cheap Android PCs out there or Android devices. You can plug into the back of your TV and now you have Android on your TV. The interesting thing is that none of them are really that compelling because, Android's fine on your phone, it's fine on a tablet, but really once you get to the big screen or on the desktop, it's kind of crappy.
Yeah, no, I get your point for sure.
So what Remix OS did is they built the operating system. They built a stripped down version of Windows. They built a desktop operating system running on Android, and then they started doing everything else, which I think really sets them up for success because if you're on the road, you can have your whole operating system on a flash drive and it runs fast. Like it's very quick because it's a mobile operating system. And when you're running it, even on a 4 or 5 year old PC, it's snappy. And if anyone's interested in this, it's free. They'll just give you the operating system. Go to Remix OS. You can download it, put it on a flash drive, plug it into your computer, see what you think. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that could actually use this because if it's all on a flash drive, you can save your files to that flash drive. And
right.
You got all your Office products.
Well, that's it too, right? I mean, Microsoft has done well with that to get people into that, and hopefully using their cloud feature, right? Is why Microsoft is including that with Android. Because if you get an Office 365 subscription, you've got a lot more functionality. Yep. But straight up, I mean, you've got a gig or two of storage, or 5 gigs of storage with your of cloud storage with your Android Office version. It's incredible, and it makes it a very compelling all-in-one package that you take on a flash drive. I mean, because there's different bootable OSs, like kind of Windows, there's different ways that you could use Windows XP, boot off a flash drive, save all your files, make it to your mobile OS. Yep. But the reality is it was a lot slower. You needed a better spec system, and then plug-and-play detection wasn't always great. This thing, everything I've tried it on, it works. Actually, went into dev mode on my Chromebook, so I can see if I could run it off my Chromebook, and I can.
Nice.
Not that I necessarily want to, because it's basically a Google OS as well. But the point is, it's like it runs on everything.
Yeah, and it runs fast.
It runs
and
fast on
They were
everything.
showing their demo system was some old 4-year-old office Dell, like
Yeah.
what you would expect to see at a bank.
Yeah.
This old system. They put it in there, and they said, yeah, if you want to compare this to any of the new smartphones, this has way more performance.
Yeah.
Even though it's a 4-year-old computer, they said it's going to run incredibly. So it might be this operating system that you can actually breathe new life into that old PC that you have sitting in the closet. If you just want
your
a
e-machine.
something, check emails, use Microsoft Office and all that stuff, which that's really probably 95% of people. That's what they want to use.
Check email, surf Facebook, type a document every now and then.
Watch
PowerPoint,
YouTube,
whatever,
type
watch
a
YouTube.
document,
That's
make
it.
an Excel spreadsheet. You can
Boom.
do it all, and it's free. So
That's
that was
all.
kind of a cool surprise. It was actually pretty impressive, and yeah, it's free. So check that one out. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to cover. We've probably already bored people enough with CS.
No. This was not. This was good. This was a great recap. That's live rather than reading. Reading a little bit, a couple paragraphs, or a bit of a video. This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so-
there's definitely lots more little stuff. I mean, people pick my brain in town and stuff like that. You stop at different businesses and they're like, hey, yeah, you're back from CES, and so yeah, I've been pitching this stuff all week. It's good. There's definitely some interesting stuff coming in 2016. Still not a lot of stuff that's going to really like change your life, in my opinion, or blow your mind. But there's definitely some things that even with home automation, right? With that whole smart home stuff, it's getting definitely more affordable and honestly more practical and more usable.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff coming. Is it going to change my life? Is it going to change the way I get up in the morning and do things? Not at this point, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think the simplicity of all these home automation products is much better. They sync better. You basically open up an app and, do everything from one app rather than have, oh, here's my app for dimming my light bulbs. Oh, here's my app for turning on the toaster. Here's my app for I think a lot of these companies are now offering a much broader range.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the, if you buy from company one, it's probably not going to work with company two, but it's getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's
at
getting
least
better.
now company one and company two offer the full range, and it's not ridiculously expensive. So I think that becomes more and more intriguing to people as time goes on. But quite honestly, that's really not our coverage area a whole lot.
Right.
So I mean, we looked at it, but we didn't stop and do any in-depth, looking
Right.
at any of that,
Exactly.
just because CS is that big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can't. Yeah.
Okay,
You could
so
actually
overall,
you could have 3 guys in the ground covering home automation, and they wouldn't cover it all.
exactly. So overall, was CES better or worse than you were expecting?
It was-
I think first off, I think our expectations weren't extremely high. We've done this 10 times. More often than not, I think you're a little bit underwhelmed just because you're hoping for that thing that really blows your mind. So I'd say our expectations were moderately low. So did it exceed your expectations, or was it about what you expected?
It did exceed my expectations. And maybe, and to be fair, I mean, maybe if you have the right meetings, you'd be blown away every year. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much to see and there's so many people that want to meet with you, and it's sitting there, weaning out the ones that are like all cases, and we got screen protectors, and we got new USB cables. It's like, I mean, obviously those aren't going to blow me away, but
No.
so you sit there and try and pick and find something really interesting, and the companies you've worked with previous years. But this year, I think overall, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I thought that CES, with the economy as it is, was going to be small. It was sold out and packed.
Yeah.
My only disappointment in CES was the fact that the show floor is too busy.
Yeah.
It's hard to get anywhere, hard to get things done. But I mean, that's for the the indication of where tech is going. That's obviously a very good thing. That it's that busy.
Well, people have figured out CS is an expensive show to be at. For these companies, it's a big expense to go there. So the one thing that really gets everybody at the show is, they just buy a little small booth, and then they do their demos right on the edge of the booth, out in the walkway. So you're trying to walk from one to another, and it's all of a sudden somebody's demoing the next greatest whatever. And everybody's trying to sit there and watch, and it didn't used to be like that, but I think probably as they've charged more and more and more for these booth space, because CS is such a in-demand trade show, people are trying to pack it in a smaller area, and it definitely makes it tough to get around. But hey, I mean, it is what it is, and it definitely exceeded my expectations, just because the last couple of years have been a little bit of downers, which is interesting because the economy hasn't, taken a huge drop or anything. I guess maybe a little bit, but for the most part, it's been pretty stable. Maybe not as hot as some years, but the last couple of years, the show's been pretty mundane. Nobody's really too excited. But this year, it seemed there was actually some real excitement. People were actually, a lot of companies seemed like they were really on the upward swing, which is fantastic, because when things are on the upward swing, there's more money going into research and development. There's more money going into product development. There's more products coming out, and I think we saw that. So I think it'll be a good year. I think 2016 will be a lot better than the last couple years in terms of technology coming out.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. Looking forward to it. So
speaking of technology,
yeah, a couple things.
Yeah, there's still some stories.
Yeah, there is. Well, I guess we'll talk with this one, because this one, I mean, coming off the excitement of CES, this is also kind of exciting. 13 terabyte SSDs are here.
Yeah, so that's all. You got your name on a pre-order?
Next story.
Yep.
Yeah, $13,000 for a 13 terabyte SSD.
That's pretty good value, though.
No.
Buck a gig.
Well, yeah, back in the day, that was actually a pretty good deal. Not so much anymore.
Either
way,
but
still.
Now you can have 13 terabytes in your laptop, so.
Exactly. This is a 2.5-inch SSD.
Yep.
13 terabytes.
Yeah,
that is incredible. The speed is solid. It's not completely mind-blowing, but they got to be stacking these chips. I would be very worried about heat, to be honest.
I'm assuming you're probably not going to get 5 years of solid use in this, but this is kind of a...
Actually, you probably would, because the fact is that it's going to be wear leveling, and you're not going to... I mean, if you had 13 terabytes on it, no. But you're probably going to have like 4, and then it's going to wear level probably for 20 years, probably.
I think it's going to cook itself before you ever get 5 years out of it.
Probably that's going to be the failure, is cooking itself to death. But either way, it's
anyways,
incredible.
It's Fixstars, which isn't a big name, but they're definitely, you definitely get headlines when you release a 13 terabyte SSD drive that can fit into your laptop.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, so $13,000, expensive, but obviously it's based at the commercial use. It's based for really specific applications. Available now if you want it. If you want to compare it to the competition, SanDisk is looking... Well, they've said they're going to release 6 and 8 terabyte SSDs this year. Samsung is working on a 4 terabyte SSD. So this is quite the jump to go to 13 terabytes. Fixstars is using their NAND flash from Toshiba, so it's using a proprietary controller, which is probably pretty obvious because I don't think many controllers are going to support 13 terabytes right now. Interesting stuff. It's obviously it's going to be a while before you have 13 terabytes in your laptop, but if you would go back to a couple years from now, or if you go back a couple years, you would probably say, yeah, right, a terabyte of SSD in my laptop, that's never going to happen. So it's just interesting to see what is capable. And one day you will probably have a 13 terabyte SSD in your laptop, and that'll probably come standard when you go buy it at Best Buy.
Probably. And probably not too far off when it comes right down to it.
I don't think it's very far off. So,
we've gone from, 128 to 240 gig SSDs to 2 terabyte SSDs you can pick up now. A few companies are making those already. That didn't take long. That's 10 times the storage.
And the price obviously comes way down. When 1 terabyte SSDs came out, they were $2,000, and now probably for $400 you can get a 1 terabyte quite easily.
Oh yeah, there'd be lots of models available for $400. Yeah, for sure. So there you go, 13 terabytes. That's kind of an upper.
That's a lot of terabytes.
That's a lot of terabytes.
So do we want to bring this party down?
Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down a notch instead of getting carried away.
All right. Well, let's talk about our friends over at GoPro.
Yeah. Wah wah.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of months for GoPro. They announced last week that they're going to lay off 7% of its workforce. So that's not really fun for people working at GoPro. Um, so let's go back to October 3rd, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
GoPro stock almost at $87, $86.97 are sitting at on the top of the world. Lots of new products that everybody's very excited
Yeah,
about.
the Hero 4 was out. They just, I mean, yeah. And since
Yeah.
then, what have they released since then?
Well, we're gonna fast forward, and they've really released nothing at all, and their stock price is plummeting. And now, in about September, August of 2015, they were at about the $63 range. So they went from 87 to 63. That's not good, but that's manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward another few months to today, which is January, and $11.46.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
from 86 or almost 87 to 11, that's a pretty crappy year and 3 months.
That's a pretty
So,
crappy few months.
yeah, that's the last 5 quarters have not been good to GoPro. The biggest thing is they haven't innovated. They haven't released anything new that is, way better and got people excited. There are a lot of alternatives out there.
There's a lot more alternatives than there ever used to be. People
And
realize
they're a lot
this,
cheaper.
This $400 cam. I mean, what GoPro, but the only thing GoPro has for it going right now, because I've talked to some other companies that have these little cameras and different things, these sport cams. The only thing GoPro has going for it is the fact that they have mounts for everything. Right, you can strap a GoPro on anything that you want, anything that moves or doesn't. There's a mount for it.
Yeah.
These other companies, they don't have that. They've got some kind of cheesy body band that you strap your camera to, or maybe a helmet mount, but that's about it. And GoPro has more than that. But for $400 or $500 for one of their stuff, plus at $100 mount, these other companies, I mean, they have the $150 cameras with a $30 mount.
Yeah.
And they're both everybody's shooting, at least 1080p at 120 frames and 4K at 30 or 60. So it's like, well, do I need GoPro powering it? I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing is even the CEO has admitted that the Hero 4 session, which was I guess their last kind of exciting product, which I think was just a little bit of an update over the Hero 4. Anyways, they even admitted that they priced the product way too high. That really hurt them. Overall, GoPro's still profitable. They didn't lose money. They just their profits are going down, and with the increased competition, I think people are, well, especially investors, are getting a little bit nervous about GoPro, and they need to win real soon.
Yeah, exactly.
The Hero 5 needs to come out. It needs to be a good price and a jump, not just a step forward. It needs to be a jump forward, and I think that'll probably help. Definitely, GoPro is, to quote them, they're changing their course in 2016. So that'll be very interesting to see if they can actually keep up,
Yeah.
or if $11 stock is kind of where they're going to sit. So sucks for GoPro. Definitely sucks for the 7% of their staff they had to let go just to kind of try to stop the bleeding. But I guess it could be worse.
It could be worse.
Could be Twitter.
Yeah, I was wondering where that was coming in, but yeah. So Twitter's down again, still continually. I don't think this is called a plummet as much as called a slow spiral.
Yeah, this is called. It was just a matter of time before this happened.
Yeah, oh, exactly. I mean, we both called this because, everybody called this. They still don't. I mean, they do have a revenue model, but it's a really bad revenue model.
It's not fantastic.
It's
no
sponsored tweets, and nobody reads Twitter anyhow. I mean, I read Twitter, but as much as the next guy, right? Scroll. Oh, hey, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
Rather, you just don't sit there and if you follow more than 20 people, you can't keep up because some of these people that you follow might post 6 or 8 times a day, and some of it might be good, but most of it's just not really relevant to my mood at the moment. So it's just is lost in the Twitter stream, which.
So when Twitter came along, well, when Twitter first came online, I think they were around that $40 range. It quickly jumped up into almost the $70 range. I think it capped out about $69 in beginning of 2014. And then, yeah, it's been a slow kind of up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little, and now we're down to about $18, which is the lowest it has ever been. I think they've dropped down to about $17.60, which is a big drop from $69. Twitter's still valued at $13 billion, but yeah, when you're not actually making a lot of money, and it's been years, and you're still not really making a lot of money, investors start to slowly bail, and I think that's what we're seeing. Is we're just seeing the early investors are kind of getting out of it, and it's basically going downhill. And so now Twitter's at that point that they either have to show investors that they can make money and come up with a good way of advertising, because currently what they're doing isn't really working, or they're going to have to sell.
Yeah.
And now at $13 billion, does someone take a chance on them?
That's a big investment. And how are you going? Like, I don't know that it's worth anywhere near that. Like, I don't know how they have yes, they've got a following. They've got a huge audience. They've got a huge install base, a huge user base. But when, users aren't willing to pay for it. Right? I mean,
but remember a little app called WhatsApp?
Yeah.
When it sold for $19 billion. Well, between $19 billion and $22 billion, some were saying. But $19 billion was, I think, the official number that Facebook paid for them. Really, at this point, it might be worth selling. I mean, it might be.
Well, I think it's worth selling, but is it worth buying?
Well, is WhatsApp worth $19 billion?
Well, to Facebook, because Facebook wants all of your communication, right?
Well, that's true. And now maybe somebody wants Twitter for more, communication options.
Yeah, that'd be the only reason you'd buy it is if you can sit there and monetize the demographic, monetize what people are talking about, like sell that stat, sell that information. But I don't know. I mean,
unfortunately, you're pretty limited to who you're going to sell to. It's going to be Google. Facebook probably is out. Maybe not.
No, Facebook, I could see how they could actually. I think Facebook has a better chance at it than anybody.
But after you spend $19 billion on WhatsApp, can you do another $13 billion acquisition?
Well, then you're basically monopolizing the whole communication thing, so maybe it's worth it, right?
Well, you are, but every time a competitor comes up, can you spend over $10 billion buying them out?
Yeah. Well, Facebook probably can.
Well, at
Facebook
this point, maybe they can, and maybe it's worth it to kind of get rid of a competition.
Yeah.
But it'll be an interesting year. I think the last year was very interesting for Twitter. It definitely, they didn't innovate. I guess they've really never innovated since day one. I mean, it's been basically the same concept. Just for the last few years, they've been trying to monetize it, and they haven't really been able to do that, which gets investors nervous.
Yeah.
It was a lot of hype, a lot of big promises, like, oh yeah, look at all these people that are using this. We'll just put ads in and think of all the money we'll make. And in the end, I think at the beginning they probably made more than what they're making now. But advertisers aren't stupid either.
No, that's right.
There's a lot of these startups where it's like, oh, look at all this advertising revenue we got. All these companies are putting in all this money because they want to advertise with us. But it's after a few months when you're getting zero return, advertisers kind of go like, well, is it worth $2,000 a month? Like I'm getting nothing out of it. Like, and that's usually when advertisers start to bail, and then you start lowering your prices to attract new advertisers, and it's kind of a vicious cycle. And then all of a sudden, your stock's at $18.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Twitter's tried some innovative things recently. Back in January 5th, while we're at CES, Twitter announced they were going to expand their 140 character limit to 10,000 characters.
Well, they're looking to expand it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be horrible.
So they created email.
Really?
Yeah,
exactly.
Innovative. So anyways, yeah, they're a company that's really having a hard time keeping their identity.
Yeah.
They definitely started with a bang, and everybody was so like, there's something to be said about 140 characters. You have to be very, and we were talking with a couple social media people who that's their job, and they said you really got to be sharp to get it in 140 characters.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who don't get it. There's a lot of people I follow on Twitter that do not get it. They write, the beginning of their thought, and then they say, like, click on this link. And it's like, Twitter was all about, that text message, that quick communication, like getting your point across at 140 characters is really an art. And that's what really set them apart. Unfortunately, they've done nothing since then, really. Yeah. So that hurts.
It does. Yeah. All right. Next story here. Let's talk Netflix. Netflix plans to, they're trying to block the unblockers, trying to make it so people can't use out-of-country VPNs to access their, the different countries' libraries. Canada has a decent Netflix library. It's better than it used to be, but there's definitely some stuff going on in the U.S. that, Canadians like to watch, and not just that, but all around the world, right? There's a lot of people in other countries that would love to watch Netflix that maybe they can't watch it at all based on, government, regulation. So they use a VPN, and now Netflix is going to try and block that. That's going to be interesting to try and do that.
Is this Netflix really wanting to block everyone, or is this Netflix getting the pressure put on them by companies to do this?
No, this is totally Netflix getting pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Netflix doesn't care. As long as they're getting your money, they don't care if you're VPNing into the US or Mexico or the UK. They can really, in the grand scheme, they don't care.
They don't, but now, they get pressure, right? Because different shows are licensed for different countries, for different release. They're not paying the license in Yugoslavia. Let's not let all those Slavs watch, the West Wing.
So now, the interesting thing is, Netflix, of course, is being pressured to do this, but they're saying that they want all of its content to be the same everywhere.
Yeah.
So which is great, which is what they need to do. And maybe, in a weird way, this almost gives Netflix some pressure to go to these publishers that are saying, like, oh, our show, show the best show in the world can only be shown in Mexico. And Netflix is going like, well, what do you want? You can license it to us everywhere, and then we'll ban all these VPNs. Maybe we can work together, and maybe that almost puts some pressure back on the studios to say, okay, we'll actually license this everywhere, rather than being kind of sticky and saying, like, no, sorry, you can only watch this in Mexico.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that if they do the block things, I hope that in a way, in a backhanded way, I hope Netflix feels the hurt. People maybe don't pay their next monthly subscription or two because they can't, binge watch whatever they were trying to. And then Netflix can say, see, look, you actually guys have the potential to make more money here. If we license it more places, there will be more subscribers. You guys will do better.
Yeah.
Right. I hope so, but I don't know. I guess I'm not very optimistic on that actually working in the favor of the
I think the
consumers.
studios are still stupid enough not to figure this out.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I have a feeling they're going to start. I think it's going to be a couple months before they start trying to block these, and then they're going to just do kind of a crappy job, and people are still going to get around it. Well, it's going to be quite a while before they shut everybody down. And I don't know if they'll ever be able to shut everybody down, but
I don't know how they can. They're going through proxies, right? They're going after proxy services.
Yeah.
But a VPN does not show up as a proxy even.
No, but they know, but they can figure out the IP addresses of the major VPNs.
They can, yeah, for sure.
When 4,000 of their customers are using the same IP address, you probably can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how they can do things, and I guarantee you that some of these VPN companies will be able to switch up IP addresses, and they'll probably have the Netflix add-on. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, you want Netflix, to get an unblocked Netflix connection? Well, it's going to cost you a little bit more. We'll cycle you through the IP addresses and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to still be ways around it, and I don't think Netflix is going to be. I think they're going to be trying to stop it, but not really hard.
Exactly. I think quote unquote trying to stop it.
It's like, oh shoot, that didn't work. All right, well, we're going to think about it for a month, and then we'll get back to you. Because they know what's going to cost them subscribers.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
How many subscribers will be interesting to see. Like whether every time something changes, people are like, well, I'm going to cancel my subscription. Like, I've had enough of this garbage.
And then they release the new
you know,
series of Jessica Jones. You're like, okay.
And then the next the next big thing comes out, and then they're like, well, I'm gonna cancel next month, and then 2 years later they're like, I'm still gonna cancel. Like, I'm really angry. Like, it's kind of the way the internet is. But on the other hand, people could be serious and start going like, all right, screw this, I'm out of here. Like, I'm canceling.
Yeah.
I would be very interested to see how if they figure out a way to magically block everybody from doing this, how many users they'd lose.
Yeah.
My gut feeling kind of says not as many as you would think, but it's still, even let's say they lose 2% of their subscribers. That's a lot of money now.
That's a lot of bills when they've got the huge overhead with their original content.
Yeah, only $6 billion this year they're going to spend on original content.
Exactly.
So, you don't want 1 million people quitting at $7 or $10 a month, whatever it works out to, on whatever plan. Let's say even at $7 a month, that's $7 million a month. That's $84 million at the end of the year if that many people quit. So,
yeah. Well,
and really, 1 million people could quit. I mean, that's probably not too unrealistic for Netflix. So
no, it's not. And Netflix does cost more than $7 a month. I mean, you're looking at $7.99 a month, but that's like, most people don't have that. Most people have the other one, which gives them full HD. It's $10 a month.
All right, so $10 a month. So 1 million people quit, and all of a sudden you've lost $120 million, which
Ouch.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of bills.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll see. We'll see how this all goes.
So hopefully the studios don't play too hardball, and
I think Netflix. I think Netflix can play hardball too.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I hope it works out. I really do.
Yeah.
Speaking of studios, Lionsgate is one of the first studios that is announcing 4K Blu-ray.
Will this work on my 8K TV?
Yes, it will work on your 8K TV. It will if it upconverts.
Great. That's fantastic.
But finally, real content that you can buy rather than just stream if you've got an amazing internet connection. However, looks like prices of these these 4K Blu-rays will start at $23 US and up to only $43 US for new popular features.
Well,
so $43
these are the
a
prices
disc.
that are going to be, on release date. It's going to be, $23 to $43. Those are going to come down, I would say, pretty quick, because people, how many $43 movies are you going to buy?
Probably one. So I've got one in 4K HDR, right?
So that you can show people how awesome your 4K TV is.
Exactly.
But yeah, when you can get the Blu-ray version for $8 or whatever
and
ridiculous price they're at now,
it's pretty good.
Or $43, you're probably okay with it up converting for the time being.
Yeah.
These prices will come down quick. But 4K Blu-rays are actually something that I think people will buy.
I think they will if they're at a decent price, right?
Like,
if they're that $25
price,
if that $25 price, $28 for the, and mind you, according to this article over at Blu-ray.com, the HD 4K, the UHD 4Ks will come with a Blu-ray as well, a regular Blu-ray and a digital copy, so that way you can watch it basically on every screen that you have, right?
Yeah, but really, that's fantastic. Great. Now I have 3 copies of, the same movie.
No, well,
how many times am I going to watch this stupid movie?
No, I agree. I mean, for more adult-oriented movies, I totally agree. For family movies, I love the fact, like, if I have a choice between, if it's $1 more or $2 to buy the Blu-ray and DVD version of a show, I definitely do that. Kids can watch the DVDs downstairs. They don't have a Blu-ray player downstairs or an HDTV. It's an old CRT.
Wow, your kids are really roughing it down there.
They are. I don't trust them with a flat screen. And a lot of people don't, right? They've got the old TV for the kids that's got a Blu-ray on it, or a DVD, not a Blu-ray. So, I mean, and eventually that will be
stuff like that. But are you going to pay $15 more for it?
No, not $15 more. Gosh, no.
You're just going to buy the DVD and be like, all right, well, we can rough it and let it up convert.
Oh no, I just don't buy it. If I have to buy a DVD, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
If it's DV only, no, I'm not going to buy it. So either way, I think this is good, but it's got to come down to be affordable. $25, $28, where normal movies are $20 to $23. I see that
even at $20. I think if you lower it to $15, you sell twice as many.
Oh, I agree, but I don't know if they will.
Well,
Because,
not off the bat, but anyways, having a 4K DVD, I think, is actually something people go to the store to buy because
Yeah.
if you have to download a 4K DVD,
it's
you're
going to be...
probably your cap for the month from your internet service provider is probably completely taken up. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's
anyways,
cool.
well, it's nice to see we're going to actually start seeing them. Unfortunately, you can probably only afford one or two. So
Exactly. So yeah, that I guess if you want to look at over at Wired East, they have a list of their top 10 products and inventions from CES 2016. We talked about ours. Of course, we just saw a fraction of the show. I mean, let's be real. Nobody can see it all. And these guys missed some stuff that we definitely saw too. That,
some of the things they covered are definitely interesting, and everybody's covering it from a different perspective. So
Yeah,
I included that article just in case you needed more CS coverage. Probably most people have had enough about CS. There's a lot of content come out in that week, so you're probably CS out. But if not, there's a top 10 list. So we've got our coverage. They've got their top 10 list. I'm sure if you use Google and you Google CS 2016, you can find 40 billion other articles. But
yeah, you could probably find a little bit more CS coverage than we did. I think a couple of the sites were there doing it.
Yeah.
So either way, Jason, thanks so much for showing up. It's coming up articles. Like, we've still got a bunch of stuff coming up. I know it's been a while, but I've got a Roku 3 here. I've got the ZTE Axon phone, which I rocked all CES, and gosh, I love this phone. The more I use it, honestly, the more I love it. Couple quirks on it though that we'll definitely be talking about in the full review. But it's a high-end flagship phone for half price of a flagship, and it's nice. It's nice. If you're looking for a new device, make sure you check out our review of the ZTE Axon phone coming up soon over at bcchardware.com. I guess we have a little LAN party coming up, Volclan, next month. But other than that, it's just going to be same old, super busy. Jason, thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for being flexible. And we will catch you next week.
Sounds good.